In just a couple of hours from now, a new first for the first in the nation primary state when Joe Biden makes his debut in New Hampshire, kicking off his two-day swing at a pizza spot in Hampton. It comes as the New York Times reports on how the Biden camp has found what they call a safe, if precarious, balance on the trail. Quote, grappling with how to showcase Mr. Biden's never-met-a-stranger persona without exposing him to an environment where he may commit a gaffe. And so far, they've been successful, they write. The most notable feature of his campaign may be what hasn't happened. He has not blurted out anything that delights his rivals, horrifies his aides, and reinforces his image as Uncle Joe, America's there-he-goes-again relative who makes you smile and wince in equal measure. NBC's Mike Memoli is covering Joe Biden from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Joining me here on set, MSNBC political contributor Jason Johnson, politics editor for The Root. Back with me as well, Anna Palmer, Jake Sherman. Mike, to you, my friend, there you are on the trail in New Hampshire, and there Joe Biden will be real soon, his first stop in that state.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Hello from one of my favorite places in one of my favorite states here in Market Square in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And, you know, Hallie, we've talked about this before. Joe Biden running sort of that classic front-runner strategy, limiting his engagements in the public, doing these bigger rallies, not necessarily taking questions. Well, we're going to see that change a little bit here in New Hampshire, a place where they expect to be able to talk to and ask questions of their candidates. He's got a busy schedule, some smaller events, including a house party tomorrow in Hampton. You know, Joe Biden comes to New Hampshire in a place that he hasn't often been before, and that's the front-runner. And New Hampshire is a place that likes to trip up its front-runners. We've seen this in the past. Obama won Iowa in 2008, came to New Hampshire with some momentum, but it was Hillary Clinton who won. And then in 2016, Hillary Clinton won Iowa, but came to New Hampshire. Bernie Sanders beat her by double digits. So it's going to be important as Joe begins to interact with some voters here. I want to bring in just one of those voters, Lisa Alexandropoulos.
Hello.
You're from Epping, New Hampshire.
Yes, I am.
You said you're a registered independent, but you're watching the Democratic primary closely. What are you looking for, and what are some of the candidates that have caught your attention so far?
Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren have caught my attention because I'm looking for big pharma taken care of. I'm looking for climate change, health insurance. I'm a small business owner here in New Hampshire, in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and the health insurance has killed me. I've gone from $2,600 a month to $3,600 a month. And then on top of that, gun control, all these school shootings, everything that's happening, it has to change.
And also beating Donald Trump is important to you. You mentioned that. What about the idea of a Biden-Harris ticket? That's something we've heard a lot of people talking about.
I love Joe Biden. I really do. But I think he's too old and he's not progressive enough to take us where we need to be. We need the younger voters to come in. We're getting to the point that we older people are stuck in our ways. We need the younger people to come in.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So there you hear it. I mean, this is exactly what we expect to hear a lot of from New Hampshire voters. Joe Biden, again, coming into the state as a front-runner. But the last time he ran for president, he didn't even make it to New Hampshire. So we'll see how he fares on this first trip here.
Ma'am, thank you much. Jason, I couldn't tell if you were scoffing or laughing or agreeing when that woman was speaking, that voter that Mike talked to, about the idea of a potential Joe Biden-Kamala Harris ticket, which Politico, by the way, is writing about as well, that senior members of the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, are warming to the idea of that kind of a ticket to take on the president. One congresswoman said that would be a dream ticket for me.
It is the laziest prediction in the world. It's like sitting here and saying Susan Lucci's going to win something or the Patriots are going to win next year. No. First and foremost, I can say this from speaking to people on the Harris campaign. The Harris campaign is in this to win. She is not running to be vice president. She is running to be the nominee. Yeah. The second thing is, if you look at the historic of the last 30 to 35 years, you've only had two frontrunners. You've only had two nominees who picked someone to be their VP out of the collection of people they ran against, and that was Kerry picked Edwards, and that was Obama picked Biden. The vast majority of the time, people don't do that. So I think they're going to float Kamala Harris's name, they're going to float Stacey Abrams' name, whatever generic black woman they can find. I think it's a silly idea because Joe Biden is even guaranteed to win this thing.
Tell me how you really feel.
It's just the truth. I think it's just silly speculation this early.
There's also the discussion that we had at the very top of the segment that I want to come to you guys on, this idea that Joe Biden hasn't made a gaffe. Are we not in a post-gaffe world? Has the gaffe issue not been eliminated after the rise and administration of Donald Trump, or no?
Well, I mean, here's the difference. Donald Trump is able to just blow past most gaffes he makes and talks about whatever he wants, whereas other candidates kind of get caught flat-footed and have to spend days explaining what they meant.
Why is that?
I don't know the answer to that, but Trump has a unique ability to talk past gaffes.
No, it's because he has a base that doesn't care.
That's another
That's
reason,
what it is. He has a base that doesn't care. And unfortunately, and sometimes we're complicit in this, and occasionally the media is so entertained by his antics that he's not held accountable, right? We run around and we chase after whatever nickname he comes up with. We run after whatever sort of attack he makes instead of saying, no, this is wrong, and holding him accountable.
Although I got to say, I think things have changed in the last several years, at least from that perspective. What I do find is interesting is Axios looking at a focus group of these swing voters. This one, I think, was in Iowa. They all voted for Donald Trump in 2016. They want policies like Elizabeth Warren is showing up with, right? But they still like Donald Trump. And this is a really illuminating soundbite. Watch this.
I showed you a long list of candidates for president, all those pictures. Do any of those candidates excite any of you? Is there anybody who's not running on the Democratic side who would excite you? Someone who's not currently announced. Like Joe Lieberman?
What? Joe Lieberman, that happened. These voters are people who voted for President Obama, then they voted for President Trump, but they don't seem to be excited about the 2020 messengers, even though they like the Democratic message.
Well, that's not surprising. Like, again, historically speaking, the idea that Democrats have great policies, but they're not good messengers isn't new. Like, people like Mondale's policies. Like, when they had the policies laid out without the candidates, people liked Mondale, what he talked about, but they found Reagan more cool, and he's more interesting. Donald Trump is a more interesting character. And again, when we're this far out, I'm not surprised. I think once this gets closer, I think once we get to maybe the fall, once we get to these debates, I think you'll find more people who might find these candidates exciting.
Just 6 weeks out, man. We're getting close.
Yes.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on. We want to get to some developing news from the Supreme Court this morning. And this is about something you may be